Just some more proof that being strange doesn't mean being dumb.
When they started downsizing, I was the first to go. Oh, you jerk, you already knew.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Why?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? Why are you letting me, like...
Well, I don't know. I didn't want you to think I was creepy, like I'm some sort of stalker.
Oh, well, it's too late for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colossal stars Anne Hathaway as a woman who goes back to her hometown to face her identity and who she really is, only to find out that identity is a little trickier than she thought. Jason Sudeikis is in there as well. What will you think about this quirky sci-fi comedy / drama / all the genres? Here's 5 things you might want to know about Colossal. I wasn't planning on doing a review of this one, but I felt like I have to. A little background before we get into point number 1. I don't read any reviews, Rotten Tomatoes, anything until I've done my own review. This was different because I didn't think I was going to do a review. And then when I started reading negative review after negative review, I felt like I needed to get my voice out there because guess what? I loved this movie quite a bit, actually. So let's talk about it. Number 1, let's talk about Anne Hathaway. She is amazing in this. There is something so very strange about having to be in such a weird concept. And I'm not going to give anything away because I want you to experience it for yourself. But there's a weird concept at the center of this. She finds a way to make that weirdness authentic. And it all rests on how much we believe her emotions and her performance. She is a phenomenal actress. She's been elevating the material she's in for a while now, and I think she deserves some credit. She's also backed up by a very interesting performance by Jason Sudeikis. Now, you may know him from Saturday Night Live, have enjoyed his comedy there. He's been in comedies as well, very funny guy. He takes a dramatic turn here in this movie that is really interesting, and he holds his own with Anne Hathaway. He's asked to do something really tricky here, and for the most part, he delivers on it. And I wanted to give some props to him because many people wouldn't have seen him being able to do something like this, but I think he's given the trickiest part of the movie and pulls it off. I gotta admit, this is a hard one to talk about without going into spoilers, and I'd encourage you to listen to our spoiler review on the podcast SiftPop if you've seen it, so that you can kind of have a deeper understanding of some of the things I'm talking about. I will say this for the third point. The sci-fi world in this movie is perfect. And what I mean by that is it has distinct rules and it follows its own rules and you never feel confused about what's going on. Now, you may not have all the information yet, but it delivers its information in a very linear and straightforward way, in a way that you feel that you're getting the information exactly when you need it. And that goes for twists in the movie too. You're hitting the twists exactly when you're starting to figure it out yourself. And I love that in a movie like this. And this movie delivers on that aspect of it fully. I know I sound like a ranting lunatic. When I fall in love with a movie, I fall in love with a movie. The main reason, though, I fell in love with this, it's the metaphor throughout this thing. And it's not just a metaphor. It's like it's a metaphor about several different things. There's alcoholism. There's codependency. There's male toxicity is one of the themes. There's a theme of ethnocentricity here that is really interesting, about how our own problems are the only problems we see. All of these things are laid in this very interesting metaphor about this sci-fi kind of concept. I was blown away by how meaningful this movie was, despite how strange and interesting it was as well. And that combination for me is probably why I love it so much. Of course, there's another side to that coin, and it is the only negative I had with the movie. When you're dealing in metaphor and also telling a story that you want to be somewhat believable, you have a fine line to walk, and this movie doesn't walk it perfectly at times, especially at the end. There are moments, especially the end of this movie, where it is metaphor only. They don't work in a real authentic universe. And I don't mean practicality type of things. I don't mean like, well, that would never happen. What I mean is the metaphor is serviced to the point that it doesn't serve the characters in the real world. Now, I'd have to go more in depth, especially with the ending, to explain what I mean there, but I don't want to give it away. I'll just say that the other side of the metaphor coin is you have to make it work in both worlds, and there are times when this movie only works as a metaphor. Overall, though, I had a wonderful time. I really enjoyed myself. I thought the performances were great. It was both a meaningful metaphor and a fun sci-fi movie, and because of that, I loved it enough to give it an A-. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. We'll get to the best ever challenge here in a bit. Before we do, though, let's connect further in Twitter and YouTube and all the socials. Twitter is Aaron Dicer, at Aaron Dicer, AARONDICER. That's where I do a lot of my kind of movie connecting, talking about film, that kind of stuff. You could also do the podcast, SiftPop, SiftPop. If you do the podcast thing, just subscribe to that. We have a blast every week talking about pop culture. And then, of course, subscribe. Have some fun here on YouTube. Leave comments. Let's have a party. Let's be a community. Absolutely enjoying this little growing community that's happening here. Speaking of that, thanks to those who are supporting this YouTube channel through Patreon. Means the world to me. To know that you would throw a couple bucks my way just because you like how I talk about movies on YouTube. It's a humbling thing, but thank you for doing that. Patreon.com/yourmoviefriend. Some fun perks there as well at the different levels of giving. Starts at like $3 a month. So $3 a month and you can know you're helping out with getting these reviews out. So thank you for doing that. All right, on to the Best Ever Challenge, where you name the best movie ever in a particular category. Also try to identify my choice. Let's go with metaphor movies. What's your best movie ever that's also a metaphor for something? I'm going to go with the one that many people don't realize is one giant metaphor for the Vietnam War, but instead of dealing with going to Vietnam, it deals with going into space. Take a guess at mine in the comments. Also leave your choice there as well. First person to get mine right, by the way, does get a Your Movie Friend point in the comments. As always, here's 5 extra seconds to hit subscribe. Just click the logo right down in this corner or the big circle face when it pops up here in a second. After I clap. You can click it there for now. Here comes the clap.